Yeah, so this franchise is called Outdoor Lighting Perspectives, OLP for short. OLP was founded in 95. They started franchising in 2005. They are part of an umbrella brand called Empower Brands. So there's probably like 12 home services franchises underneath Empower Brands. They have a lot of outdoor, like basically living type of brands. So they have Architect, which is, custom patios and, hardscapes and things like that. And then they have conservative irrigation. So you can kind of imagine like those owners are going to refer customers to OLP because they don't do lighting, and then vice versa. And that's also a way for you to expand within the network of brands. So maybe you start with the lighting company and then you add the irrigation. So there's ways to grow your business even within that Empower brand portfolio. But OLP, they have around 130 franchise units throughout the country. The total investment for this one is between around 100,000 and 214. And usually what you do for this particular brand is they do want you to hire like W-2 employee technicians. That's the biggest difference with this one compared to some of the other brands. And they're actually going to train those employees on how to do all the lighting installation. And, you dig the ditches, depending on the type of lighting, there's different things you have to do at different processes, but they're going to help train those employees. A lot of it is LED lighting, so it doesn't require licensing or an electrician, which is nice. So if you do have like customer requirements that require a need electrician, you just subcontract that work. You don't have to have an electrician on payroll, which is nice. So the owner's role, especially at the start, is a lot of networking. This one, you get referrals from companies like landscaping companies, from irrigation companies that don't know how to do lighting. They're not specialized in that, but they have customers that want that service. So if you're not comfortable with networking, they say that OLP is not probably going to be a great fit. You do get a decent amount of leads through direct marketing, but a lot of it is networking in your community with other business owners to get those referrals. So networking, and then doing the sales consultations, and then managing your team to do the work. So, yep, there you go. But I like this business. A lot of people think it's like, oh, it's too specialized to make good money. Well, the average ticket price on these jobs are about $4,000, and it's a 1 to 2 day installation. So,
wow.
I think the margins are pretty strong because it also doesn't require like very like high skilled labor. You don't need to hire like an electrician or a plumber or whatever it may be and pay them a high salary. It's more of, lower, your payroll is going to be lower. So if we want to look at,
question.
Yeah.
I've noticed this I've only seen this a few times. Do you know why some of the franchises do a 7-year term instead of a 10?
I have no idea. I
So
don't.
interesting.
It is weird. Yeah.
Yeah, I'd love to understand. I think there's another. I know there's like one other franchisor I've seen that had a 7-year franchise agreement term too, and I thought, why 7 years?
Yeah, I don't know if there's rhyme or reason, or if somebody just when they were like putting together the FTD, they're like, well, let's just do 7 years, and that's how because I remember when I used to work for a home improvement franchise, and we were launching a new brand, and in a lot of ways we were just kind of making some stuff up in terms of like those type of terms, and when you were launching the new business. So, but I imagine there was some sort of rhyme or reason why 7 years versus 10. But
And are the other sister companies 7 years too, or no?
I
Like
don't.
Architect?
Architect's 10 years for sure.
Interesting.
Yeah, I don't
Cool.
know.
I didn't mean to sidetrack us. I saw it. I was like, huh, interesting.
Maybe it's like a way they can stand out and say like they're a 7-year term versus 10, and maybe it's more appealing to people. I don't know. But yeah, I could ask him.
Yeah, I'd love to know. I'd love to know if you can. I would love to.
Yeah. So
Let's talk some numbers.
The way they break it down, I really like when companies break it down by single territory and then multi-territory, because you can get a good sense. All right, if I buy one territory in my market, what's realistic? Some of these numbers can be so inflated for other item 19s because it's like, well, they could have 10 territories, but they're only doing $1 million in revenue. So This one, the average across for one territory is 566,000. It looks like they have 18 franchisees doing, let's see, 500K or more for a single territory. And then the max is 1.8 for a single territory. That's pretty high. And then if we go down to the multi-unit chart here, so this is if one franchise owner owned multiple territories. And so then that jumps up to $1 million average for multi-unit territory owners. And then let's see, the average for the top 10 were 1.9 million. The max was doing 3.06 million. So pretty high numbers. But I think they also break down like P&L here, sample P&L below. Yep, there you go. So for this, sorry, go ahead.
No, it's just funny because we've had more and more videos get more traction and views, especially some of the shorts. And when people hear me talking about the sales, and everyone's like, "But that's not profit." I'm like, "I know. That's why I said sales."
Yeah, for
It's
sure.
like I don't think people realize how nuanced a profit and loss statement is, and like no one manages their P&L the same way. Anyways, I don't want to get into that, but all right, tell us about, run us through the numbers.
Yeah, that's a whole other conversation we could go down a rabbit hole on. But yeah, so I mean, I don't even know what location they specified here, if this was an average. Let's see what it says. I think it was an average of 45 reporting franchisees, this chart here. So average revenue of 903,000. They go through cost of labor, cost of goods sold. So labor is 16%, which
That's
feels,
super low in
yeah, I
labor.
was gonna say that feels very low. Material 30%. So gross profit of 53.8. That's strong. Like in a home, I think in service base, if you're above 50, that's pretty strong. And then you're looking at local marketing, royalties. Let's see what else. Office manager, that makes sense. Vehicle. Yeah, it's not bad. I mean, 20% net. Let's see. Well, this is total revenue less cost of goods sold and certain required marketing and operating. So it's probably not true net the way that's worded there.
Yeah, and what they're probably accounting for, and this is the point where I think a lot of franchisors don't show P&L. Well, maybe there's some that just suck and they don't want to. But it's like when you have managers that run their health insurance, that run all these other things that business owners, when you're in a franchise, it's your business.
Mm-hmm.
So you could literally run every and any expense under your profit and loss statement that you wanted to. The franchisor has no control over what you run through your profit and loss and what you pay for out of your business account. It's your business. And so it is common when you see a franchisor showing this in the FTD that they show net, the net is of certain disclosed expenses, right? Because there may be some that's just not pertinent to the running of the business overall.
Yeah, 100%. That's why you have to have conversations with owners, like we always harp about when people are going through validation, to understand what those true numbers look like. But this is at least a starting point. Like, I appreciate they at least give you a starting point to learn from.
Yeah, and it's a good point. Actually, I was texting with one of our clients who had bought a franchise, and specifically in his words, he was telling me what sales he had done his first year. He bought a resale, turned it around, and is just on track to produce a pretty significant amount of sales for the business overall, especially that sort of business. And he said, keep in mind that the price I paid versus all the time off I had, it's totally worth it. So one, he got an absolute steal on the business. He got it for less than 100 grand, right?
Yeah.
And two, all the time off he's had. So I know he used to work in a car dealership in the service department. He used to be one of the service advisors. And so, he'd be on a fixed schedule. He'd be working, 10, 11 hours a day in the dealership. And basically what he's saying is, when you're a business owner, you have to factor in, like, even if you said, okay, I only made 100 grand. Let's say if that's not a lot for someone, right? They're used to making, let's say, 150 in the corporate world. But if you're making 100 grand and you have like you get your business to the point where you have lifestyle flexibility and maybe you're not at your computer 40 hours a week, then in theory, when you annualize it, it could be worth more to you really than that amount. So to Kevin's point, when you're talking to franchisees, you want to not just ask them about are they happy with the money they're making or what sort of return they're getting or what their profitability looks like, but hey, what does that look like compared to the time and energy that you're actually investing in the business? And so when you ask the question that way, maybe someone is not performing the way that they want in the franchise system, but they're like, you know what? To be honest, I'm really only working 10 or 15 hours a week. So I'm sure if I put in more time and energy, I could perform better. So you got to ask those questions. Anything else to add there?
No, I think it's a good point. I mean, it's hard to value like the time and freedom part of it. For me, it's a big deal. It's worth a lot to me, but I think it's hard to understand the value of that until you recognize it and you're not like going in and having a boss in the corporate world and going into the office nine, it's like until you actually experience it, it's hard to know. Like it would be hard for me to ever go back to that, you know.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. I just want to hit on something real quick, guys, in the numbers is that one of the reasons why I mean, we've really shifted. I mean, how often do you think our clients even buy retail-based franchises? Would you say only 5% of the time, 5-10%?
Yeah, that's fair.
So, just to give you guys an idea, like, okay, so the investment range is from 99 grand to 214. Now, keep in mind 59 of that is the franchise fee, right? And depending upon how you run it, I'm sure is gonna depend on what that range looks like. Obviously, that's gonna be in the FDD. Um, but I mean, a single territory owner, you've got, you know, so with the average being 566, but if you're doing between there's 8 people doing between 500 and 750. And so to be able to produce or have even the opportunity to produce to have $1 million business, like if you're in the top, that's really the top 25%. So really that's like the top quartile, right, of single territory owners. And the average 1.1, median is still over a million. You paid less than 200 grand to get this business open. That's a 5-to-1 sales to investment ratio if you can be one of the top 25% performers. And so the great thing about a franchise system compared to anything else is that you can literally get on a call with the top performers and be like, "Hey, Kevin, what do you think's contributing to your success? Why do you think that you're so successful? Why do you think you're doing 1.2 million a year? And can I just break down how we're running our business and how do you think I can improve ours?" You get to have a conversation with 10 franchisees who have the result that you're looking for. The benefit of that compared to starting something on your own or even potentially buying a traditional business where it could be producing great sales, but there's no support system. Where do you go when you're stuck and when you're in trouble and when you need help? That's one of the biggest advantages to franchising is the community and the access to other people that have like laid the foundation.
100%. Yeah. Uh, I have a quick story. So I used to work in a home improvement franchise, and I was facilitating like a mastermind group with owners, and we were talking. We had like two of the top performers in the network there, and one of the other owners asked me like, "Hey, what do you see the top performers doing?" I just said, "Well, I'll let Matt answer this." And so Matt just said, "Well, we do exactly what they tell us to do. When they have a new system or they say we do this, we're doing this marketing initiative, we do that. We follow their system. We just execute and we work hard. That's it. And then he started asking questions like, well, what are you guys doing for customer care? What are you doing for sales? Like, and the very simple things that they weren't doing that the top performer was doing, he's like, why aren't you doing that? Well, because it's too hard and blah, blah, blah. It's like, I mean, those are all excuses, you know, and it's just so, I remember that meeting because it was just like, if you just follow the system and you work hard, you can be successful. But if you try to like overthink it and recreate the wheel, or you're afraid to like do things, you're going to struggle. So that's like, I think how you become the top quartiles, you just like get in there, you start executing and you work your ass off and you follow the model. So, and not to rant on it, but I just still remember that meeting. I was like, and it was just so funny because I was like, I love Matt for saying that, because we've been harping on people to follow the model for so long. And, you know, for whatever reason, people just think that they should do it their own way.
No, yeah, I think it's one of the biggest reasons I think why if someone is struggling in the franchise system, oftentimes, yeah, they're not following the system. And I know I was guilty of it so many times, and with my franchisor as well. I'm sure I was a pain in the butt in some instances.
No way. I can't see that out of you. No way.
I know, right? I don't have any strong opinions about anything. Um, if you guys are interested in seeing if this specific franchise is available in your area that shows in the franchise agreement 20% margins, and franchisees who are doing producing over $1 million in revenue, some of them, then you can go to franchiseempire.com/check territory. Or if you just want to see, hey, what other franchises are available in my area, go to franchiseempire.com/check territory. Keep in mind, you need to have at least a bare minimum net worth of 150 or above. That's the bare minimum, ideally higher, to be able to really qualify for financing or be able to really qualify for any of these franchisors' financial requirements.